Thank you for joining us for this special edition of VTW 21 News. I'm Vice Mayor, and as you can see, I'm joined by Jennifer Bowles, who is now the Vice Mayor once again of Martinsville City. She was recently appointed that title by the Martinsville City Council. Jennifer, first of all, thank you for taking the time and talking to us today.
Oh yes, absolutely, anytime. I really love VTW 21. I love everything you guys do, and thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you again for taking the time and being with us today. To start off right now, what does it feel like, excitement, happiness, to be named once again the Vice Mayor of the city?
It's always an absolute honor to be firstly selected to even be on the City Council. I always want to thank God. I want to thank the individuals who voted for me and even the individuals who didn't vote for me. It's an honor to be selected to serve on the council and to be appointed by your fellow council members as Vice Mayor. I truly don't have the words to express how thankful and blessed I am to be in this position. I'm thankful that I even have the opportunity to do this.
And we have some new members or at least a new member on City Council. So can you tell us about how you guys are going to be working together and having two females leading the City Council?
I plan to do as I've always done, work with anyone despite our differences. It will be difficult, I'm sure, for some council members to work together due to the controversy, but I do know that both of those individuals are going to work hard to not let the election and the nastiness of the election affect how we make decisions for the citizens. And unfortunately, that's just something that happens to be commonplace in politics during election season. And I hope no one has any ill intentions moving forward, but all we can do is work together and do what's in the best interest of the citizens. And I, for one, can say that I will truly do my best to work with everyone, regardless of my personal beliefs, their personal beliefs. At the end of the day, we were voted and selected and elected to serve the citizens, and that's our job, and we have to do it.
And moving forward, what would you say with having a diverse group of individuals, and again having two females leading the board? How does that help kind of represent better the city of Martinsville?
Well, I will say it is a shock in 2020 that it's the first time we ever have a first time for something, But I'm excited to be a part of that moment, to be a part of this historic moment. I believe Mayor Kathy Lawson, she was the first woman to ever be elected mayor, so this is something that's not new to her. I was the first African American woman that was selected as vice mayor, so I think, we're just going to set an example that women can do it. I do believe having a diverse council is great. It shows that our city's moving forward. It shows that our city is accepting of everyone. It shows that women can lead and women have the opportunity to show our stuff and show that we can do the exact same thing that a man can do. And that just goes to show how we're now selected to do so. But it is amazing to be a part of an historic moment, and I don't want to downplay that, even though, unfortunately, in 2021, it's a first.
Absolutely. And as we kind of move past, just the members, personally, what would be your biggest goal as we move forward with you being the vice mayor?
Well, Louise, I'll say it's kind of a yes and no for me. I do want to continue doing what I've been doing. In a sense, I'll just keep being the council person that I was. I'll continue being an advocate for the citizens. I'll continue being a voice for the voiceless. If anyone calls me, I'll make sure I do my homework. I'll make sure that the council knows about it. I'll make sure that I do my due diligence to make sure that that issue is heard. In addition, I won't let any council members bully me. I won't let them affect my decisions. Of course, I respect them and listen to them, but I won't be pushed by any council member to make any decision, as well as by social media. I know a lot of I won't say specifically members of Martinsville City Council, but a lot of individuals are pressured by those outside factors. I'm going to stay steadfast in what I believe is factual, based on research and the documentation that I see. But then it's no in a sense, because it's just the same thing that I've always done. So I'll just keep doing that moving forward as Vice Mayor.
And, when you returned back to the city of Martinsville from, having your education, why did you decide to kind of, first of all, seek a seat on city council?
I'll be honest and say that I never came home with intentions to run for the Martinsville City Council. I received a mailer about a neighborhood meeting on the West End. There was to be a consolidation of the two voting precincts, the one that's on the West End and then the other one that's beside Albert Harris. And I decided to go to that meeting because you're fresh out of college, you're gung-ho on wanting to work hard and do new things. So I was like, yeah, I want to be an advocate, I want to speak up. You learn about all the political things people do. So I went to the neighborhood meeting, spoke up against the consolidation because I felt that we shouldn't only focus on consolidating the voting precincts in the West End area, that maybe we could focus on consolidating the Virginia Museum of Natural History and the middle school, because they're in a closer vicinity than the two on the West End. So I spoke out against that. And then there were some individuals that were at the meeting and lived on the West End who said I should run. Initially, I laughed it off, thought it was funny. No way someone fresh out of college can win. The only other African-American woman was Sharon Brooks Hodge, and she was a first. Not a lot of women on council, plus I was fresh and very young, so I didn't feel like I could win, but I ran because the people asked me to, and I wanted to stand up for them and advocate for them, and I have a deep, passion for standing up for others and doing what I believe is in the best interest of our citizens.
And being from the West End and representing the West End, we've seen that you get a tremendous amount of support from those individuals, and you're just loved by each and every one of them. How does that make you feel, and how does that help you as a council member?
Well, Louise, I do want to say I'm a representative of all citizens. I live on the West End, so I guess that's why they feel more comfortable with speaking to me. But if you talk about, historically Black communities and what it makes me feel like to be the first African-American woman selected vice mayor, and what it makes me feel like to be the second Black woman on council, just a sincere and deep level of humbleness, because I think so many little girls who look like me and young men who look like me know that they can do it. I just think of the people before me, the first police officer, Mr. Haywood, may he rest in peace. That was my neighbor. My grandfather, he was the third Black police officer. My nanny on my paternal grandmother, she was one of the first Black nurses. My maternal grandmother, she was one of the first Black women supervisors at DuPont. So I just think about breaking those barriers, and I love to be just a great representative for anyone. And I know that this is speaking specifically about Black and West End residents, but I want the citizens to know I represent everybody. But it does feel great to be able to be a first and to let people know that they can do it. And I'm just thankful for the people who paved the way before me, because without them, I wouldn't have this opportunity. So I'm deeply thankful, deeply humbled, and extremely blessed. And I know I owe it all to God.
Absolutely. And, talking about the support from the community, what has the support been like from family as well? I know that we've seen that you've spoken about, grandparents and other family members extremely proud of you making history.
I will jokingly say that my family was not initially supportive of me running for city council. My dad, for all of those who know him, he's very outspoken, and he was extremely adamant about me not running. He just felt like it would be a lot of pressure, and he didn't want like any parent, he didn't want to have that happen to his child. My I don't want to say names, but a lot of my family members were like, it's no way she could ever win. But even though they didn't think I had high hopes of winning my first time, they were still supportive. They gave me donations. But I'll say now that I have proven myself by winning, and again, thank you to the citizens for voting for me, because without them, I would never have this opportunity. But now that I've actually been able to be elected, they have been fully supportive. My family's not really huge in politics as I am, but they listen to everything that I have to say. They let me make the decisions. Sometimes my dad tries to give me advice, but sometimes I have to tell him, no, Dad, I know you're a citizen, but I think you're going over the line. But of course, my family's super supportive. I'm thankful for them. They show up to the events, they share my posts, and they're very interested. So I have a very supportive family, and I know I'm lucky. I know a lot of people don't have that, so I'm appreciative of my family. I don't think I would have even had the courage to run had I not been raised by such a wonderful family. They came to all of my softball games. They supported me through everything I've done, so I really do love and admire them and thank them for everything they've done for me.
Great. So what we're going to do right now is take a quick commercial break, and we'll return with our conversation with, again, the Vice Mayor of the City of Martinsville, Jennifer Bowles, as she talks about her new role. Join us after this. Thank you again for staying with us as we continue our conversation with Vice Mayor Jennifer Bowles of the City of Martinsville. We're going to dive right back into our conversation and talking about one of the biggest topics right now in City Council, being reversion. What would you say is your point of view on that, and are you for or against?
Well, Louise, I'm in whatever is in the best interest of our citizens. As of right now, our last vote was unanimous, with all of City Council members voting for reversion. Now I feel we need to continue having conversations with the county to make sure that it's fair and equitable for all of our citizens. And not only the citizens of Martinsville. When we're making a step such as this, we need to also make sure it's fair and equitable for the neighboring county. They're our friends. We need to focus on what's best for the region and not just what's best for the city and not just what's best for the county. I hope we can all come together. So I hope that the citizens will continue to send in input and thoughts that they have about reversion, and that we can just continue to have a conversation and be encouraging to each other and realize this is what we have to do for the region, not Martinsville or Henry County, but we have to work together.
One of the biggest questions that citizens have with reversion is, why is it taking so long, and why has it taken so long for you guys to kind of, do something that allows them to see some progress?
Well, Louise, I will say we've been talking reversion since before I was born, before you and I were born. So I do sometimes feel it's an unjust pressure on the current council when so many other previous councils have had the opportunity to have the reversion conversation. But I know we're focused on the here and now. So I will say it's taking a while because we want to make sure we're doing this right. We want to make sure we're hearing all the citizens. We want to make sure Henry County's getting what they need. And of course, as an advocate for Martinsville, I want to make sure we're getting what we need. So we're going to keep having those conversations to see if we can hash everything out. We don't want to have our citizens pay more. We don't want to have our citizens have to be burdened with the reversion conversation by having to take it to court. We want to work it out amongst each other. So if it takes a little bit more time but saves our citizens money, I'll take the little bit more time every single time.
And talking about money again, one of the biggest misconceptions is that the city doesn't have any of it or is broke, and that this is not helping. So can you kind of clarify some of those things for us?
Yes, so I will say that the city is not broke. But let's think about this. If you make $100 every year, right? But the cost of living continues to go up, but you're still just making that $100. You can cut things, you can take some of your non-necessary items off your budget list, but if you're still just making that steady 100 while your cost of living is going up, so say all of your bills are going up, at a certain point, you won't be able to sustain if it continues to increase, let's say 10% every year. So that's the position that the city is in. So even though we're doing what we can, we're gonna make sure we're still doing the necessary things, our revenue isn't seeing the increase that other areas are seeing. And it's not just a Martinsville thing. This is a whole South Side, Southwest Virginia thing. So we just have to do something because it's going to be the inevitable. So it's not that we're broke, it's just we're only making that $100 a year, but everything is going up hypothetically 10% every year.
Okay. And another thing with, as we talk about money, it takes a lot of money to pay for a study and reversion. So how do you tell citizens, or what do you tell citizens so they can be confident that this money that was spent is money well spent and that you guys are actually going to do something, in comparison to what has been done in a year when they have paid money for a study?
Yes, that's a very fair question, and I'm really glad that you asked it. So I will say this time, we just did an update of the last reversion study. So that way, that saved us some money rather than doing a whole new study. And we just updated it, so it wasn't as costly. And so I am not an advocate, and I know the rest of the city council isn't an advocate of doing any more studies. You know, we've done enough studies. We know what the numbers say. We'll be fine. And that's one thing I wanted to make sure I said. And also one thing that I hear constantly, Louise, about reversion is that the county has to take on the city's debt. That is absolutely 100% not true. The county will not take any of our debt on. If we become a town, we will still have all of our debt. And then another huge question that's always asked is double taxation. You will, if you live in the town of Martinsville, get 2 taxes, but it should be about the same that you're paying right now. And those are the main questions that I receive about reversion that I really wanted to make sure I stated today.
And to continue with the clarification of some of the misconceptions, why has there been sometimes we've seen either the county or the city don't want to talk, and you can correct me if I'm wrong on either or, but why has some of the boards or council not wanting to come together to have a conversation at least?
I will say the members of the Martinsville City Council have always been willing to talk. So anytime there was a lack of wanting to talk, I can say that I know it wasn't from anyone on the Martinsville City Council. And that's with all due respect to our Henry County neighbors. But, you know, truthfully, the members of the City Council have always been willing to talk.
Okay, and as, again, we move forward and we are not talking about reversion so much now, I'm talking about another topic that is, continues to go on in 2021. The coronavirus, and we've seen that in the city of Martinsville and in the entire West Piedmont Health District, which includes the city of Martinsville. Cases continue to go up, and we've seen recently that Henry County Public Schools will not do the in-classroom instruction that was planned. What do you say to citizens in the city of Martinsville so that we can make sure those numbers of daily cases reported go down?
I would like to urge citizens to stay home unless you have to go out. That means the grocery store, the doctor's office, necessary things to maintain your day-to-day living. Going to a restaurant, not so much. Please order takeout. Of course, we want to support our small businesses, but we can do that in ways where we're not dining in. And I don't want to discourage anybody from supporting our local businesses, but we have to do things that are conscious about our community, and we have to care about other people. We need to continue to wear our masks. We need to continue to social distance. Use that PPE. Have hand sanitizer, Lysol. We need to just stop this where it is.
And I know that other individuals have seen other interviews with other individuals that I have done and probably have not seen me wear a mask, but we've been 6 feet apart. We couldn't do that today, so that's why we're wearing them. But we have seen that you, as a council member, have sometimes been the only person wearing, the protective mask or any other type of protective measures that need to be done. Why has that been the case? And does that make you feel proud? And what is the talk with other council members whenever they're not doing those things?
I will say I talk with Mayor Lawson frequently, and she's a huge advocate for wearing her mask. She has to speak a lot during the meeting, so she oftentimes doesn't wear her mask. And I know we're always 6 feet apart during the council meetings, so a lot of council members don't wear their mask. I know with that unfortunate photo that was in the bulletin about the celebration of Jim Woods, his leaving of council, I will say that was a 30-second photo op, and it really was just a spur of the moment, and everyone was emotional. So don't think that council members aren't advocating that you wear your mask. I've seen council members out and about throughout the city with their masks on. So I think it really was a bad, moment that was photographed. But I wear my mask because I want to not only protect myself, but I want to protect my family. I want to protect those around me. I recently saw a YouTube video of a nurse who was on the front lines who said, if we can just stop one person from contracting COVID, it would really help our first frontline workers. So I just want to do my part to make sure that I'm keeping my community safe. And I truly believe it's the right thing to do.
And we've seen political tensions, throughout 2020 and going into 2021. Things have not changed, and the idea still continues to be that a mask or doing something to prevent the spread of the coronavirus is political. What do you say to those individuals and maybe individuals that are citizens of the city of Martinsville to ensure that everyone is safe?
I would strongly encourage them to lose the narrative that this is political. It is wrong. I don't think it's morally right. I don't think it's what God would have us do. God wants us to care about our fellow man and woman. So please just wear your mask. And the quicker we all wear our masks, the quicker we can stop wearing them. I oftentimes don't want to wear the mask. It can get hot, all the things that people complain about. But do I want to make sure that my grandfather who's 88 doesn't contract COVID and die? Yes. It is that serious. You can die from this virus. It's not a hoax. It's real. And if we don't do what we're supposed to do, it's only going to continue to get worse. And what's really unfortunate to me, Louise, is people seem to not care about it until it happens to someone they know. So let's not have that happen to your family. Let's keep your family safe. Let's keep all the families in the city of Martinsville safe. So wear the mask.
And switching gears, leaving coronavirus to talk about that, it's still going on, so that's what we talked about right now. But moving on to some more positive conversation. With being on city council for quite some time now, what would you say has been the biggest wow moment or the biggest pleasure that you have gotten from serving the citizens of the city?
Oh, wow, Louise, that is such a tough question. I don't want to say it's, the biggest or my most favorite, but a very interesting moment for me. Of course, one is to even be elected. That says a lot about what the community thinks about you. But the one moment is someone who I've admired my whole life. I won't say their names, but I was always Mr., and then for the first time 2 years ago, he called me Miss Bowles, and he always jokingly called me Jennifer, and the nickname my dad has for me, which is Rooster. And so for him to call me Miss Bowles, it let me know that he respected me to the point of, wow, you know, it made me feel like I finally made it.
Awesome. And as we wrap up our conversation, if citizens have some concerns or, you know, some words of encouragement, how can they contact you?
Oh, I have so many different ways in which they can contact me. Of course, you can always call me on my cell phone. That number is on the city website. So if you just Google Martinsville government, you can find my name on the side and find my number and my address if you want to write me a letter. Sometimes people write letters still. You can send me an email, and that's at jbowles, B-O-W-L-E-S, at ci.martinsville.va.us. And of course, you can send me a Facebook message and an Instagram message or on Twitter. But I have a hard time kind of responding to all of them. So I would recommend a phone call or an email or writing me a letter. I would probably respond faster than being inundated with Facebook messages. But if ever it takes me a while, I'll get to it.
And, you know, we're coming to the end of our conversation. Any additional remarks that you would like to give our citizens?
I want to tell the citizens, thank you so much for having faith in me to advocate for you and allowing me to be elected for a second term. I am extremely humble, and I promise, as I stated before, to do what's in the best interest of the citizens. I won't let my personal views, other council member views, or, you know, social media, political things influence my decisions. I'll listen to everyone's opinion, but I'll do what's based on fact, what's based on research, and what's based on how can I sleep at night and how will God judge me after this decision I make.
Again, we really do appreciate you taking the time to be with us and just giving our citizens an update on moving forward in your new role.
Thank you so much, Louise.
So we'll be right back after this quick commercial break. Stay with us as we have more local programming.